What'd you think about the way that y'all played in your first conference series this weekend?
Obviously, the win-loss column doesn't necessarily reflect what we wanted. We were able to kind of come together in the last game and avoid getting swept to open conference. SFA has a very quality pitcher in Cassidy Wilbur. She made it tough for us. I think we did a good job on Saturday coming back and making some adjustments. Gave up too many runs in that second game or the first game on Saturday, but kind of got to grow through some stuff. It feels like we started conference a little bit early. We would have loved to have another preseason tournament. I don't think every team in the WAC played last weekend, so we got one of those early starts. So still working through some stuff, some replacements and defensive alignments and some of that kind of stuff. But I think it was good to see the girls come out and bounce back on Saturday to compete, to make adjustments against that same pitcher that struck us out a lot on Friday, and to decrease that column a lot, put a lot more balls in play, put more pressure on their defense, and come away with at least one game moving forward. I think was a big deal for us.
Like Rick said, these first several weeks it's a lot of process of figuring things out. What has that process been like for this team of figuring out who's going to be where and what people's roles are?
Definitely. I think some of the names that you've probably heard before that were big pieces struggled for us early on. And so just trying to find their place and their footing and their role on the team now. And so had to make some moves, even in some of those areas that we weren't expecting. And had some kind of happy surprise people step in and fill some big time spots in some of those areas. A couple weeks ago, lost Shaylee Alani, our second baseman, to an ACL, so she's done for the year. So figuring those pieces out all over again, where that was one piece that we didn't have a lot of depth at second base, and so figuring out who's going to fill that spot. What does that mean for now right field, if we're taking this right fielder in to fill that spot? Now we have another hole. So figuring all those pieces out, figuring out how to get all our bats in our lineups. All of our catchers are contributing big time at the plate, so that's made it fun and challenging for us to figure out how to get all three of those kids in the game. So just a lot of moving pieces that we're still trying to work through this past weekend as we made some moves defensively even. That seems probably a little unconventional. But the girls are competing. I think Rose has done a good job stepping up at second base, competing at the plate as a freshman, putting herself in a position to have good at-bats and to give us a chance anytime she's up to bat. And so like what we've seen from her on that side of the ball, kind of filling that role. And then Miranda Lista didn't get to play a lot through preseason, and then now just kind of thrown in the fire in conference play, and has kind of rose to the occasion this past weekend. So
you've got UIW tomorrow, pretty quick turnaround. What do you know about those guys so far?
Yeah, they're a familiar opponent in the Southland, right? We played them last year, one of our end of season where we kind of hit a hot streak. And I think they're ready to come to town and have a little bit of a showdown. I think we feel like we match up well with them. That there should be games where we come out and play our brand of softball, our best softball, and that we should be in a place that we're looking definitely to take to tomorrow for sure.
What kind of energy do you feel was on the field for it being your first home weekend?
Yeah, it was awesome. Friday night was the ACU's Purple game, so a lot of student athletes were out there. And there was a lot of hype around the game in general. I think that's our style as a whole, is we want to be a really energetic team. We're really young, so we're still figuring out what that means and how we tap into that consistently. How are we the same team for 7 innings and sometimes 14 innings in a day, right? So trying to tap into that consistently, but I do feel like the girls have really bought into who are we going to be, what is our identity. We can control our energy all the time, and they have a lot of fun with it. Some of the videos you've seen with the little helmet slaps from when they score, they just like to have a good time with each other, and that's when they're playing their best right now. And so it's exciting when they tap into that to see how they can compete and what they can do out of those spaces for sure.
Yeah, so Stephen F. Austin was like a really tough competitor for y'all for many years. So what was like your mentality going into this past weekend?
Yeah, they're regular season conference champions last year in the Southland. So we knew it was going to be tough, and we knew they have. She was the preseason WAC pitcher of the year. And she does a really good job. She keeps the ball around the strike zone. She gets a lot of swing and misses. And so we tried to prepare to be really competitive and be able to compete on some of those things. Didn't make good adjustments on Friday at the plate specifically. I think Sydney did a more than good enough job in the circle to keep us in a game. We just didn't help her at the plate. And so yeah, we knew it was going to be tough. We knew we were starting the year in conference with probably our toughest opponent out of this side of the WAC at least. And so tried to gear the girls up that was exciting, that we get to set the tone. I think the good thing now is with the layout, we get to circle back and play them our last season. And so hoping that we're a different team in a positive way, 7 weeks from now when we get to see them again, and then moving into the conference tournament from there. So
kind of touch on that. How do you think the girls did this overall weekend?
overall, I think that they grew. Every game was subsequently better than the last, and I think that's a big deal for where we are. Kind of touched on it that we're really young, so some of the pressures or the being at home for the first time, full crowd with that purple game. I think it kind of was a lot to kind of wade through, and I think they did a good job as we settled in to, hey, this is our home turf, we're going to go find a way to win, and then finding a way down to the last inning to scratch and claw was kind of our mentality this weekend. You're going to have to scratch and claw to take every at-bat away from us. We're going to compete in every opportunity that we have to walk up to the plate, and I think you saw that all the way down to Avery's infield single right at the end, that she was going to find a way to try and just make something happen, and I think that was a big deal for us.
Yeah, and then UIW Tuesday, Lamar this weekend, really big week coming up. So what are your thoughts, feelings going into that?
Yeah, we're just trying to bounce back from maybe a series loss, but feel like we were in a good spot on Saturday in that second game. But just looking to clean up some things, working on some of our defensive positioning and some of our defensive decision making, and then looking to continue to be more competitive in the box, especially as we get deeper in counts. And so it's something we've been working on since we started games this spring is how can we fight to get more balls in play and fight to be more competitive and not hand at bats away, that same mentality. So I think these both will be good matchups for us. I think Incarnate Word is a good space to work through some of those things some more, moving back into Lamar. So hopefully can get a good practice in today and then use that as an opportunity to continue to, as we've kind of touched on, we've moved some pieces around and trying to figure out the best 10 people to be in the lineup. And so figuring out what that looks like against an opponent, I think will be helpful for us tomorrow in Incarnate Word. Looking to go compete, and like I said, I think that we're in a good spot to take two tomorrow if we show up and play our style of softball for 14 innings.